Thank you. My name is Ethan Thomson. I am going to be talking today about how we can take some of the best parts of open source culture to drive internal adoption of your initiatives or innovations platforms within your company. The big problem that I really want to focus on is teams, operations teams, any teams really are spending a lot of time innovating, maintaining, upgrading, improving the various platforms that they're offering to their customers, but the adoption is just not there without an executive mandate, which really just causes frustration for everybody across the board. At the same time, we need to be able to have those innovations and make changes to those platforms and those initiatives for maintenance sake, have safe and auditable practices, be able to measure the workflows and iterate and improve. A little bit about myself. I've been in the software development world for about 10 years. I actually drove the founding of the customer success management team at CloudBees. At the time, it was just Enterprise Jenkins. And since then, I've been working with startups to increase the adoption at countless companies across North America primarily. One early on in my travels, I encountered a F500 healthcare company that was having a really hard time getting people to use their pipelines, which is actually how I'm going to frame a lot of this conversation. They were building different platforms, different pipelines for their teams to use, and basically were ignored. So they took a different approach and created a minimum viable pipeline that was optimized but didn't have a lot of bells and whistles. They had quarterly meetings with representatives from each team, so not everybody they were working with, to take feedback, see what improvements they had made to the pipeline, and then merge that into the main pipeline that was being offered to the rest of the company. Afterwards, they did a great job of celebrating and evangelizing that, and what they saw is that in less than a year, they went from 20% adoption of the pipeline template to 100%, with 95% of the teams not even making changes to the pipeline. They were using it as is. The approach is what we're going to talk through primarily today. I'll start talking initially about the baseline template. So if you're going to create a template for whatever you're trying to offer, I would say keeping it really simple is important. You want to have, in the instance of a pipeline, whatever requirement you have to go into production, some standard integrations that everybody's going to use, and basic optimized processes, but not a whole lot more. We don't want to get super opinionated. We just want to offer a resource for the teams to use. Templates should be presented to the teams as fully functional pipelines, but with the expectation that the teams will be making changes, improvements, optimizations themselves, depending on whatever tools they're using or processes they want to follow. A really important part of this is keeping the commitment barrier low. So for the healthcare company I mentioned earlier, they didn't mandate usage of the template. They offered onboarding assistance and they kept their door open. So at no time was it, hey, join us now or never. They just offered it as a tool if people wanted to use it, and they encouraged feedback if people were going to use it. They set up official feedback sessions, not very frequently. Nobody needs, a ton of extra meetings to go over pipelines, but they had representatives from each team come and just talk about any changes they had made. What tools had they set up integrations for? What optimizations, build processes, deployment patterns, etc. They had champions within each of their group that were kind of pushing for the use of these pipelines across all the different dev teams, and they kept things pretty human and communicative by having it not too frequent. They could have, beer and pizza and just a conversation. And what they saw was that as they were merging solutions that would be helpful to the entire organization back into that main template, people started to feel really proud of the various things that they were submitting that were being used by the entire company. Different tool integrations, again, deployment patterns, etc. And overall, developers, in this case, started to have ownership over the changes that they were making, that they were maintaining. People became eager to make improvements to the pipeline because it was a cool way for everybody to kind of know, hey, that's something that I worked on that everybody in the company is using. People were also willing to help maintain it, which was taking stress off of the DevOps team in this case. Evangelizing is a really important part of this. So positive reinforcement, you're celebrating successes that the teams are having, adoptions, accepted improvements, call them out by name, improvements in DORA metrics. All of these are going to build goodwill and information with the teams that you're trying to talk to as you get them onto their platform, pipeline, whatever it may be. I like to share successes internally across the company. It really depends on your company. I work at a lot of startups. Maybe your organization is a better fit, but again, not too frequently, and really name a couple of people and talk about the impact that it's had. The good news is that successful adoptions pretty much always snowball. Feedback sessions have really quick iterations. When you're evangelizing, you're developing trust with these teams that maybe weren't sure before, and you're going to build a library of templates that you can use for a lot of different use cases. So everything moves much more quickly. A little call to action, if this is something you want to take a crack at, I would encourage people to just jump in with both feet and not think too much about it. Map out a minimum viable product for whatever it may be, set up a feedback session. If you're going to target a team, I usually recommend a small agile team that's open to working with you, because once you iron out those first one or two teams, things will go a lot more smoothly. If you want to have any conversation about this, I love these types of talks, and I'll be here. I'm happy to sit down and talk with you. Thank you.